Hey everybody, welcome to EduMatch. Follow along with us on Twitter with the hashtag EduMatch, as well as our YouTube live page, podcasts.edumatch.org/tweet talk. So if you're hearing my voice right now, then you're obviously there on our YouTube live site. So speaking of EduMatch, sign up to be the featured person of the day. You can check that out at edumatch.org. Click on the big sign up button. You'll see it on the top right corner. So I will be honest, there's a little bit of a wait right now, but that is okay because guess what? While you're waiting, we will tag you with matches. And if you have a blog on WordPress or someplace that we can find the RSS, then we will automatically tweet out your blog post. So that includes Blogger, etc., etc., etc. So tonight, I am so honored to have my good friend Jon Harper here with me today. So welcome, Jon.
Sarah, thanks for having me on. It's my honor.
Yeah, so I'm always glad to chat with you. I know we were chatting a little bit before this, and you were like the coolest guy to talk to. So it is just so awesome to have you.
That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, so it's awesome to have you here. And it looks like we also have Laura with us. So I think that she's going to, I think she's connecting right now. But as she's doing that, then Jon, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm an assistant principal at an elementary school on the Eastern Shore of Maryland. Some of my passions are, I guess, blogging and podcasting. I have a podcast called My Bad, and that's what we're talking about tonight as far as being vulnerable and sharing mistakes. My kids are 6 and 12, and my wife is a math coach, and she does a good job taking care of me because I can barely take care of myself. And so I live a good life, and this is a lot of fun. So it's an honor to come on here tonight, Sarah.
Well, it's an honor to have you back. So thank you again for joining us. And we also have Laura here. So Laura, if you could hear us, if you could just please pop on and introduce yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you just great.
All right, my computer is malfunctioning right now, but I'm trying to, I think my mouse ran out of batteries, but I am a technology teacher at Trinity Lutheran School in Joppa, Maryland, and also the communications director of MSET, the Maryland Society for Educational Technology, and I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, we are happy to have you, and we have like a Maryland show today. This is awesome. Yes. I will claim Maryland because I work there, even though I'm sitting at home in Virginia right now, but I'll still claim Maryland. So, so that is awesome. Very glad to have you both here. So without any further ado, we're going to dive in. So I'll edit this part out. But Jon, do you see the questions on the right?
I do.
All right, awesome. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Jon, if you want to go ahead and ask the questions.
Sure. First question is, why do some people have a difficult time admitting mistakes or owning mistakes?
That is a good question. I love that question. So Laura, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's always difficult for us to admit our own failures. You know, it's embarrassing, you know, and so we have to kind of get over that feeling and be able to really look at ourselves and, you know, see what we've done, you know, to cause the problem.
No, that's a good point. And I'll let you go ahead, Sarah. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. I was just saying that is so true. And I know that sometimes people live in fear because, you know, that might be like the situation that they're in where they might be afraid to admit mistakes because they think that it's going to get them in trouble. So, I mean, that could be students, that could be adults, that could be anyone really.
No, and I think in schools especially, we're measured in a sense by how many mistakes we make. I mean, if you look at a student's paper, it depends on if it's a standards-based grading or not, but a lot of times kids are always thinking, okay, how many mistakes did I make? How many did I get wrong? Teachers are thinking about how they're marked off for evaluations. There's testing. But you know what? A good friend of mine who I'm connected with online, Maggie Bellato, once said, you know, once you put it out there, once you make your mistake audible, once you verbalize it, it no longer has power over you. And it sounds crazy, but it's true. And it's what I've found to be the case in having this show and hosting My Bad and writing about vulnerability, that in all honesty, I don't worry as much anymore. I don't worry at all. I mean, I make tons of mistakes. I write about them. I have tons to write about. And I've learned a lot from so many guests, but it is tough at first, making that first step and admitting that you have made that mistake is difficult because we're worried about people judging us. We're worried about, someone thinking, oh my gosh, well, they're not capable, they're not competent. But that's definitely not the case at all.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that as well. It's been very liberating to be able to share mistakes at times.
It almost reminds me, and this is a wild reference, this is out there, but the final scene, and for those people that haven't seen it, I don't want to give this away, but the final scene, I've talked about this before, in 8 Mile with Eminem. I don't know if either of you have seen that movie, where he's getting ready to have this rap battle against this other guy. And he brings up every single flaw in himself that he thinks that his opponent's going to bring up. And after he brings them up, the guy's got nothing. And so it's like, you know what? Forget you. I brought up all these things. Now what do you have? And it's kind of like that. Once you feel comfortable admitting your mistakes, you don't care anymore. You can just, you're not going to try to make the mistakes. You're going to try to learn from them, but you don't worry as much about making them. I mean, it's very liberating.
Absolutely. And it's funny because I was reading something like that yesterday that pulled up that example as well, that just like, once you bring those up and you address them, then that totally takes away the power for anyone to judge. Well, not to judge, but
Oh yeah. No.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. And it's hard because people are evaluated. I mean, especially adults, they have supervisors, they have their peers, and especially with social media has a tendency, it's incredible, but it has a tendency to show everybody's best side. And so we look online and we think, okay, well, Beyonce always looks like this, or LeBron is always, perfect at basketball, or this or that, or somebody's, and a lot of it is not the case. I mean, we're seeing everybody's best side. It took 10 hours to make that music video, or probably, I'm sure, a lot more time than that. It took a lot of practice. Sometimes it's difficult when we compare ourselves to people's best, because that's not really reality.
That's a good point, especially in this age of social media where, everybody wants to be Instagram perfect. And we have to realize that, how much work goes into those Instagram shots.
Oh, it's unbelievable. I feel like, and I think about it with my daughter who's 12, and I feel like I have the right person. Zendaya recently had, or not recently, I don't know, it was in the last year, but there was a cover shoot she did. She's a Disney star who, beautiful young girl or woman, I don't know how old she is now, maybe 18 or 20, but she was really upset when they photoshopped her hips to make them look smaller for some magazine. I can't even remember what it was. And that's horrible. I mean, she was absolutely mortified. I mean, she's a beautiful young woman, and they literally photoshopped her hips because they thought that people reading the magazine would want to see somebody even smaller. And I'm thinking, that's crazy. What kind of message is that to send to people?
Yeah, that is the truth. That is the truth. And also I wanted to give a shout out to Jenny McGuire, because at ISTE this past year, she was the Tuesday morning keynote, and she really spoke a lot about kind of what you were speaking to in terms of how everyone looks perfect on social media. And I mean, that's really not the case. She had an example of things that people say on Facebook as opposed to Google searches, and all of the top things on Facebook were positive, and everything on Google, the Google searches, were negative. So that's crazy. Yeah, it's so crazy, but so true.
No, it is sad. And I think it's sad for adults, but it hurts me even more for children. I mean, I didn't see the series. I think it was called 13 Reasons Why. Is that what it's called? Something like that. Mm-hmm. And I haven't watched that. I know a lot of kids have watched that. I'm sure a lot of adults. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, it has to do with suicide in youth. And it scares me, the amount of pressure that kids put on themselves to be a certain way, to look a certain way, to act a certain way. And a lot of it we're guilty as adults for creating that kind of society where we're letting that take place. And it scares me.
Cool beans. So I know that you have 3 amazing questions for us. So if you want to go ahead and drop the second one, then please feel free.
Sure. Next question is, what is it we can do to help our students worry less about making mistakes. Because like I just said, I mean, that's the main thing right now. I mean, we don't want adults, we don't want to worry about them, but what can we make our little ones, even kids as young as 4 and 5, are worried about making mistakes. They're worried about, you know, the cliche coloring outside of the lines. And my thing is, what can we do so that they go into class and they enjoy it? Because kids don't come to school worrying about making mistakes. Kids aren't born into this world worrying about making mistakes. We're the ones that create those conditions for them. So what is it we can do as educators, as parents, as leaders to help change that?
Well, I know that's something that, you know, there's a lot of pressure on kids today to perform. And I think, like, we as adults have to really understand that kids are learning. And, you know, they say FAIL, F-A-I-L, stands for first attempt in learning, right? And so we have to get kids to understand that there's nothing wrong with failing at something. It's only wrong if you don't keep trying. So I think that we as teachers, as parents, have to realize that kids are learning things, and we have to allow them the space and the chance to learn things for themselves.
Yeah, I love that. Definitely wanted to second what you just said, Laura. Also wanted to give some love to everybody that's tuning in. There's a lot of great conversation going on Twitter. A lot of future teachers in the house. So woo woo, shout to all of you. Thank you all for joining us. And also a lot of great conversation on the YouTube live. So Rochelle, for example, just said that she does SAIL, which is subsequent attempts in learning as well. So nice. Yeah, so great comments. What I would add to that is definitely being transparent would be my answer too, because I know that a lot of times when I've been afraid to fess up to my mistakes, it's been because I felt like I was the only one, you know, I was the only person who was messing up, and I felt like kind of the slacker. But, you know, so what I can do now is that I can be transparent and share my mistakes for those who might be looking at me and seeing what I'm doing. So, yeah.
No, I mean, that's a great point. What I say a lot and I talk about a lot is I think it's important for us to do what I call stepping first as adults or as leaders. And by leader, I don't mean position. I mean, you could be a teacher, a parent, whomever. But I think it's important for us to share our mistake first. I think we're so worried about showing and we're so worried about hiding our brokenness. In other words, if we're sad, sometimes we come into school, and I don't mean bring our baggage into school, but you know, when you step into that classroom in elementary and even in middle and high, I mean, that's your family for a while. And it's good for kids to see you a little bit broken once in a while. It's good to see you a little bit upset. If you're sad, it's okay to let them know you're sad. I mean, that's not an excuse not to perform and teach well. But I think when kids always see us, I mean, they can see right through us. And if we put up perfect products, like I used to, when I was teaching writing in 5th grade, I would make sure that whatever work I put up for writing had a lot of mistakes, and then we'd work through it. Because if every time kids see a perfect example up there, they're going to think that that's what they have to be, and they're not even going to try. And you know, it worries me that kids think that we are perfect, because we're the furthest thing from that. But you know, I think once they see us open up and share some mistakes, and I don't mean ones that wouldn't be appropriate to share in class, but I mean, for example, you know, as an assistant principal, I meet with kids a lot who do make poor behavior choices or poor judgment choices. And let's say, for example, someone got sent to my office for cursing. I mean, I'm real with them. I say, look, I understand. When I get mad, sometimes I might say a bad word too. You just got to be careful about that. You got to be careful. Keep it in your head. You can't do that at school. You shouldn't do it at home either. But I mean, I'm real with them. I think when they know, oh my gosh, Mr. Harper cusses? What? Yes. I mean, I have done that. I'll be honest, I've written about this and I've talked about this before. I did it last year, and it was really embarrassing towards a student. I'd never done it in my 20 years. I've never cussed once. I cussed towards a student, It was humiliating. It was embarrassing. I apologized to him. I had his mom. We had someone out in the community. Someone brought his mom into school so I could apologize to her face to face. I mean, I felt horrible, but it showed that I'm human. And I think the more times we are able to show mistakes and show that we mess up too and apologize, that's a big thing. I think a lot of times as adults, as authority figures, I mean, we think of ourselves as authority figures. We feel like there's something wrong with apologizing to kids. But really, I mean, once we apologize to kids, if we make a mistake, say we yell at a class or we call somebody out and it wasn't really their fault, we gain so much credibility and so much strength for that. And kids see that. And then it gives them permission to do the same thing. It's amazing how effective it is.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Kind of going back to one thing you were saying about like showing that we're not perfect, showing we're not robots, I guess. I was just typing into the comments that the most powerful moment of that I feel so far in my career was at a time where I was less than perfect. So I'll try not to be Debbie Downer and not to go on and on about this. But we had a tragedy at a school where I worked, where we lost a student unexpectedly, and I remember when it happened, and it was very. It was hard, as these things are. But I was saying in my head, got to be strong, got to be strong, got to be strong for the kids. You know, I have to be their rock. I have to be their rock. I have to be their rock. And so maybe 7 or 8 months down the line, when the 8th graders and I were putting together the video yearbook, and I happened to see a video of him. There were just, maybe 3 or 4 students with me. And at that point, I just kind of broke down because I'd been holding it in for so long. And I mean, it still kind of gets me a little emotional now, but the students, like, I mean, it was just like catharsis for all of us in that room, the way that we were able to support each other. So definitely, when they see us, when they know that we're human, then I think that's very powerful. It's very powerful. And it was powerful for me, I have to say.
I'm sure. No, that's a good point. I mean, too often I think we're worried about hiding our brokenness, and we're just as broken, if not more so, than the kids. And when we do that, then I think that it gives them, like I say, it gives them permission. They feel okay to show their flaws, and that is oh so powerful. Because I mean, they're half our age, a third our age, whatever. And it's okay for them to be broken, to be upset, to lose their temper. I mean. I always say kids come to school. A lot of our kids come to school at 211 degrees and water boils at 212. And all it takes is one small thing for them to bubble over. And sometimes we wonder, how in the world could this kid have gotten upset over me saying this or somebody just bumping them? But we have no idea what took place before that. So I don't even know if that made sense, that segue. But just, it's okay for them to be themselves and to show flaws. And we have to allow that. We have to create that safe space and that safe environment for them to do that.
Absolutely. All right, cool. I think we have one more question. So if you want to go ahead and drop that would be great.
Sure. Last question. What is it you can do this week to help your students get comfortable with making more with sharing more mistakes? In other words, it doesn't happen overnight, but what can we do tomorrow to help your students, to help your colleagues, to help maybe your family members, depends on who's listening, anywhere. What can we do to help the people that we love and the people that we serve feel more comfortable in making mistakes and not be so worried about it, not be so uptight?
Well, I know one thing that really helps is to create a feeling of community in your classroom. I keep telling my students, we are a family. We are here for each other. And I try, it's tough because a lot of them can push each other's buttons. Mm-hmm. But I try to really encourage them to care for each other and show care and show kindness to each other. And so knowing that you're not going to get made fun of, everybody makes mistakes, we're all going to still care about each other, really kind of takes a little bit of that pressure off of the kids. So I think that goes a long way, creating a community feeling and a family feeling within your school and classroom.
No, that's a good point. It can't happen overnight. It definitely takes time, but it's so important. And you can tell when you walk by rooms or you walk into rooms, you can be in there in a couple minutes and you can just feel the warmth in a room where kids feel safe and feel comfortable.
That is so true. And I apologize for the delay. I was responding to in the tweet and talk chat in the on the YouTube live page. But yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I know that there's one Voxer group that I'm part of called Restorative Justice League. And they talk a lot about circles and how powerful those are to to kind of build those relationships with people. And there was a member who was chatting about how she did that at the beginning of one of her workshops. How she had a circle and she had everyone kind of talk about, I guess, what was on their mind for that day. And I was just like, oh, that's pretty cool. So I think definitely establishing that space where it's okay to be human, it's okay to, to feel and to not be perfect all the time. So that would be my way.
Absolutely. And I think when we do that, the teachers that I've seen that have done that have gained, I said it earlier, your classroom is your family. And when you let them in on some of the pain, some things are private, but when you let them in on some of the pain you might be feeling, or you let them in on mistakes that you made, it's so powerful. I remember, what was it? I had a colleague whose sister was dying. And I said, I think one of the best things you can do is to sit down with your class and just to share that with them. And that wasn't the mistake. I think the mistake is trying to put up that front all the time, like we're not feeling pain, like we're not human. And he sat down, he met with them, he talked to them, he teared up during it. But you know what? The kids saw him as a real person. They saw him as someone who has emotions. And maybe the next time one of them feels pain or has something like that going on in their family or in their circle, maybe they'd feel comfortable in a family meeting or with him or with someone else, just being a little bit more vulnerable and showing some pain. So I think that's important.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So I know our time is starting to wind down here, but Jon, if you could please tell us a little bit about your podcast, as well as any other projects you might have coming up.
Sure. The podcast is called My Bad, and it's really, the episodes are only about 8 to 10 minutes long. In the very beginning, I started about a year and a half ago, I would start off sharing some mistakes, but it's gotten to where really I just dive right in and I have guests share big mistakes. And my main point is not from people to learn from the mistakes. That's secondary and that's good, but I want people to learn that everybody makes these mistakes. And I want them to feel better when they hear these mistakes, because I want them to hear it and think, oh my gosh, wait a minute, I just read that person's book and they did what? Yeah. For example, my very first guest on My Bad was Todd Whitaker. And Todd Whitaker always talks about treating people well. And, you treat people well 30 times out of 30. You treat them poorly 1 time out of 30, they never forget it. Well, he came on the very first episode and talked about how when he first was in education, he was a basketball coach. And he screamed at the referee and got a technical. And I thought that was huge for me to think, oh my gosh, Todd Whitaker? Everything that comes out of that guy's mouth is gold. And I'm thinking, what? He made the mistake. And so, hearing stuff like that, hearing Angela Watson came on an episode and talked about how she let her ego get in the way. And she was just thinking of herself and not thinking of the students. And this is someone who, puts out amazing podcasts, amazing blog pieces, has amazing programs. And just to hear people that I say we look up. We do look up to them because they're amazing people and they put out amazing work and they help us grow. And to hear that, they make the same mistakes that we do, I think is powerful. So it's something that I am working on. I'm working on a book right now. Hopefully it'll be done in the next couple months, in which I share about 24, 25 different episodes. I retell the episodes, but I also have seen that there are about 6 different kinds of mistakes that people make. And there's a certain way that people are moving forward from these mistakes. And I'm also going to talk about my takeaways. But that's a project that's in the works. I'm hoping within the next couple months it's going to be done. It's taken longer than it should, but it is going to get done. I definitely believe that, and I'm very excited about that.
Sweet. Can't wait till it comes out. Really looking forward to reading it. And I love the episodes of My Bad. So definitely I have one in my queue right now. I think we were talking about that before we went live. So I can't wait to check that one out. Great. So thank you so much for sharing. And Laura, do you have any closing thoughts for tonight?
Well, I was just thinking as Jon was talking that, I had not yet heard of the podcast, so I'm excited to check it out. And I think even having maybe my students see some of the episodes, to see some of these people who, are authors and speakers in the education community, to hear them talk about their mistakes and say, these people who are successful people, have made these mistakes. So, it's silly to think that we're not going to make mistakes. So it would be cool for them to see those examples.
I think it would be. I mean, how old are your students that you work with?
I teach kindergarten through 8th grade.
Okay.
So I do computer skills for K through 8.
There probably are. You probably want to listen to them first, because some of the top, obviously you can listen to them first, but I think that is important, because it's good for them to hear, they can say, what, this person wrote a book and they did what? This person did this and they made what mistake? I mean, it is really important for them to hear that. And I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, the students, we look at people that they look up to, like LeBron James, or I know there's a famous quote by Michael Jordan about how many times he failed, but he kept on going. And so they appreciate those perspectives.
No, I think that's a really good idea. Definitely.
Totally. Well, that is awesome. And this has been such an amazing conversation. So I want to thank you both. Thank you so much, Jon. And thank you so much to Laura for your wonderful insight tonight. Like that was just amazing. And that generated some great conversations, both on YouTube Live as well as on Twitter. So looking forward to also seeing more tweets that I'm sure will show up throughout the week. I want to give a huge shout out before we go any further to, let me see, I believe Teach Ms. D. I just went on here on our EduMatch badge list, and she has already done the EduMatch sharing mistakes and earned a mild badge by putting in her 3 tweets for tonight. Nice. So yes, great job to Julie. Wonderful, wonderful. So anyone else who wants this as well, then please do that. So remember, the purpose of our badging community is to share our learning publicly and learn with one another. So you can always just click on the badge itself and you can see what our peers are up to. So for the mild badge, then it is about sharing 3 tweets from tonight. For the sharing mistakes medium badge, then there is a flip grid set up. So just go ahead and go to this link over here if you want to if you would like to get this badge, and just link to your post. And last but not least, we have our spicy badge. So with this, the challenge is to write a blog about a mistake that you made in teaching and what lessons you have learned. Share the link there. So also you can put things in there about like how you plan to share your mistake. And yeah, that would be great. So hashtag EduMatch. So definitely, once again, wanted to thank our awesome panel. So this will be available as a podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and other places you may get your podcast. So check that out in a couple of weeks. On Tuesday, we're going to have a special episode of EduMatch with Leslie Anaya. So she is one of our authors of EduSnap 17, EduMatch Snapshot in Education 2017, where we have, oh my goodness, so many people, like a lot of authors sharing great stories of this year and what they have been doing in terms of education. And I have to say that I get to be the fly on the wall and read every chapter as I'm formatting it. And there is some mind-blowing stuff in this book. I'm not even going to gas it up. I'm being dead honest. This is going to be an amazing, amazing compilation. So many great ideas in there. So we will also be having other tweet and talks coming up, but I believe that the next one to sign up to be on panel is the one about the hour of code. So that will be on Sunday, November 26th, 6 p.m. sign up at podcast.edumatch.org/sign up. You could subscribe at on iTunes, Podcast, Stitcher, and yeah, so that's about it. So everybody have a great week. Check out My Bad. It is amazing. So we'll see you guys next, actually not next week, on Tuesday, 7:45 Eastern. All right, see you there.
Thanks so much, Sarah.
Awesome.
All right, thank you. Thank you.